Happy Valentine's Day 2025. I hope you're able to spend part of your day today with someone special. And today I'll be spending it with you, showing you how to culture your own lactic acid bacteria. You might recall from February 1st I posted a video on Bokashi composting, and I talked about lactic acid bacteria as the main component of the fermentation process in that. And so I'm going to show you how to culture that today. It's very simple, only a few ingredients needed. I basically have some filtered water, white rice, a funnel, wire mesh filter, a couple of utensils, a few jars here because I have it staged for you guys because there are a couple different stages to it. If you're not interested in doing Bokashi, you could still give this a try because, as I mentioned in the previous video, it does have other benefits. You can use it in your garden as a foliar spray. It has antifungal properties, so if you have shrubs or small trees or bushes which are susceptible to powdery mildew, leaf spot disease, rust, you can use this to help use it as a preventative. It's not going to completely eliminate it, but if you can keep it under control, that's all you need to do, and it's better than using toxic chemicals. You can also use it as a soil drench, so it's good for soil remediation. Has, as I mentioned, the antifungal properties, so it'll be good for helping compete against any pathogenic microorganisms that are in the soil. You could even just use it in your lawn. You can use it to help build your turf. You can spray it onto your grass, and that these do have some growth properties, so stem elongation. Kind of acts like a growth hormone in a way. You can dilute this 1 to 1,000, so it would be a teaspoon per gallon, and then that's what you'll want to use if you use this out in the garden. For Bokashi, we just use it undiluted. If you're going to use it as a foliar spray, I just want to point out that you want to make sure you get the top side and undersides of the leaves. Don't do it midday. It's best to do it on a day where it's overcast, a bit cloudy, or early in the morning before the sun really comes up. If you spray this midday, you're just going to end up scorching your leaves because those little water droplets are going to act like a magnifying glass. So let's get into it. First, I want to show you how we're going to start this. So we're going to use white rice here, just regular old white rice. Get the cheapest rice you can get. This is from Aldi's. Don't get rice that is like flavored, that has seasonings, anything added to it. I also don't recommend getting a parboiled or quick cook rice. This is just regular old long grain white rice, not organic. This is one of the few times I'll recommend that you don't have to get organic, unless of course you're going to consume the end product. We're going to take some filtered water here. So I got about 2 tablespoons in here. We're doing a small jar, just about a pint's worth. Normally I'll do like a half a gallon, so I'll use maybe like 2/3 of a cup of rice. And you don't have to waste this rice. So like if you're using organic rice, do it on the day that you're going to be making your rice. That way you have no waste. I'm using filtered water, as I mentioned. We want to make sure that there's no chlorine in the water. Now, I'm in Monroe County. They still use chlorine to treat the tap water. And you can use a simple carbon-based filter to remove that chlorine, or reverse osmosis system, or very simply, you could just put the water out in a bowl, some kind of vessel, let it sit out for 24 to 48 hours, and the chlorine is going to gas off. If you are in a municipality that treats their water with chloramine, that's a different story. The only way you're really going to remove that in a home-based filtration system is with reverse osmosis. And if you don't have that, then I recommend you go get yourself a gallon of distilled water or just purified water. If we use tap water that still has a chlorine or chloramine in it, that's going to kill the bacteria we're trying to culture. So it just defeats the purpose. We want to have this with a 10-to-1 ratio, so 10 parts milk to 1 part rice wash water. So this is just as an example. This is one I've got staged here. This is going to be about 1 part rice wash water. The rest is going to get filled up with milk. So I'm going to pour this in here. I'm just going to take a fork and I'm just going to whisk this. You know, use a whisk, use a spoon, it doesn't matter. You want to just whisk this around. What we're trying to do is get the starch off the rice, the carbohydrate source. You know, this is the sugar. This is the food that we're going to use to try and attract the bacteria into our jar. I do apologize if you hear the bird in the background. Last video he was napping. Today he is not and wants to know what the heck is going on. So this is going to be like a milky liquid after we whisk this around a little bit. And what we want to do is, I'm going to put this wire mesh filter and funnel here just to try and reduce any mess. And I'm just going to pour the liquid through there. Simple as that. And what we're going to do is we're going to just keep this covered either with cheesecloth or like paper towel. I ran out of cheesecloth, so I used paper towel this time around. We run a porous material that the bacteria can get through. Like I said, we're trying to create an environment here that's going to attract the lactic acid bacteria that we want to culture. So I'll just put a piece of paper towel over this and one of these metal rings, you know, from a mason jar, and I'll just leave that out. During the winter time, this process takes a little longer, so it's about 5 days. We don't have as much fresh air coming through the house. We don't have our windows open, so it's going to take about 5 days. In the summer, it usually takes about 3 days. Okay. So this is one that's already been sitting for about 5 days. So 2/9 was when I did the rice wash. Today, February 14th, is I'm going to add the milk. When you first make this up, it's going to have kind of just like a sweet smell to it. After about 5 days, when this is ready to go, it's going to have more of like a kind of like a sour, yeasty smell to it, like almost like a sourdough starter. And maybe you can see here, we want these like little floaters in there. We know it's ready to go, and we got, you know, all these little floaters and just stuff at the surface. When we first mix it, it's just that cloudy, just clean cloudy water. Okay. I'm going to grab the milk. So again, just go cheap on the milk. I'm just using whole milk from Aldi's. You can use any percentage fat you want, so skim up to whole milk. You can use pasteurized milk, you can use vat pasteurized milk, you can use ultra pasteurized milk. The only thing I don't recommend using is milk that has had the lactose removed. The reason being is we're culturing lactic acid bacteria, otherwise known as lactobacillus bacteria. When we put the milk in this vessel here, what we're doing is we're creating an environment that is conducive to sustaining the lactic acid bacteria. So they're going to feed on the lactose in the milk. So that's their food source. And as they feed on that, the lactic acid bacteria are going to produce lactic acid. Sorry, it's a little blurry, but you still get the point. I'm not going to redo this. And as they produce the lactic acid, it's going to cause the milk to separate or curdle. And you're going to get the curds that go up to the top, and you're going to get the whey in the bottom. And what we want is the whey. the curds at the top, if you want to, you could make farmer's cheese out of it. You could take that out, put it into a cheesecloth, squeeze it out, and you could have farmer's cheese. The whey is actually the byproduct of cheese making, and that's the waste product. It's actually what's used to make whey protein. So what they'll do is they'll pasteurize it, and then they'll separate out the proteins, and then they'll use that to make whey protein. I've only ever used homogenized milk, so I don't know what effect non-homogenized milk would have. So if you're using like the Jersey cow milk that's got the cream at the top, or if you're using raw milk, I really don't know if that's going to react differently. It's still going to have a lactose in it, so theoretically it's still going to function the way it should. I just don't know what the end result's going to look like. So, like I said, we want a 10-to-1 ratio, so 10 parts milk to 1 part rice wash water. And we want to leave a little space at the top, because as this curdles and those curds float up to the top, we want to give it a little space so that it doesn't overflow and push any of that whey out and make a mess. I'm just going to put the paper towel back on, put the ring back on, and this should be ready in about 5 days. Like I mentioned before, it takes a little longer in the winter time. In the summertime, it usually only takes about 3 days. And the end result, as I showed you already, is this curdled milk. So we got the whey in the bottom, we got the curds up top. Generally what I'll do is I'll just take a knife, I'll just cut a cross section into that. And then I'll just simply pour this out through a wire mesh strainer into a clean vessel, and then I'll stick that in the fridge. And when you stick it in the fridge, just make sure you label it, what it is, so no one drinks it, unless they want to drink it. The date, so you know when it was produced. Ideally, you want to use this within the first few weeks, but as I mentioned before, I've had cultures in my fridge for up to 2 months that were still effective and worked just fine. So that's pretty much it. It's a very simple process. So if we're using it for Bokashi, we're not going to dilute it. We're just going to use it undiluted. And we're just going to spray it on our food scraps when we put it into our bucket. If you're using it in the garden, dilute it 1 to 1,000. So a teaspoon per gallon of water. I'll put a couple links in the comments, just studies that were done about lactic acid bacteria. They're pretty easy to read if you're interested in some of the benefits of it as it pertains to your health or in the garden and some of its uses. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave me a message and I'll try to answer them as quickly as I can. Otherwise, have a great day. I'll talk to y'all later. Oh, and if you know someone that can benefit from this, please feel free to share or repost this video. The more we could spread these natural systems and that help improve our health and the environment, the better off we'll all be. Thanks, guys.